What's up, pagan people? Drew here, and obviously this is a VR to Brittany from Tree Bewitchery, and it's, witching where you are. Basically, what is it like to be a witch where you live? So I've got some pictures I'm going to throw in this video once in a while. I live in the almost most eastern, pretty close to most southern part of North Carolina. So first off, let's talk about weather. The weather where I live it's on crack. It's just crazy. Everybody here, we all make jokes all the time. Any local people, automatically from the jokes on Facebook that they're local, even if you didn't realize it originally, because it's just, the weather is crazy. We get all the weather. Of course, we get hurricanes and we get thunderstorms. But, it snows here in the winter a little bit, enough for me to make snow water, typically. We do have fall, though we don't really have a lot. It's not like New England where you get all the beautiful changing of the leaves. We do have some of that, but the natural forest, the Croton forest here in North Carolina is mainly pine tree, and they're evergreens. So we don't get a whole lot of that beautiful foliage change happening where I live. Summer is summer. It can get to 100 plus, particularly with index and humidity. In the winter, it can get down to, it typically 30, 28 maybe is the lowest, but that's pretty cold. The thing is, though, if y'all recall, when I made my in bulk video, this is, the very first stirrings of February. I'm running around outside in my yard in shorts, bare feet, and a t-shirt, grabbing up little pieces of, greenery and flowers and whatnot for my bowl. It was a beautiful day out. I don't know exact temperature, but then at my Ostara video, it was freezing outside. And this is what I'm talking about. It'll be 90 degrees. And then, the next day it could be 60 degrees. It's just crazy. The weather just doesn't know what to do around here. We usually get kind of an Indian summer thing happening. That's what they call it, when it still feels like summer in the fall. So the actual fall is kind of short, but again, you never know. The weather is so manic. It'd be January and it'd be 70 degrees out one day, and then the next day it's 40, and you're just like, okay, North Carolina, at least eastern North Carolina. I live right on the Crystal Coast. If you drive, I wanted my crumpus. So if you get out on the highway here and you head sort of southwest, about 10-minute drive, well, even less than that, say a 7-minute drive, you're going to hit that nature trail that I've showed you guys before that I get to walk. And I just went out the other day and collected a bunch of cedar bark off the ground because I was nearly out and I hadn't been able to walk the trail since August. Thank you, Hurricane Florence. They had to go in and clear a bunch of stuff. At any rate, if you keep driving another, 5 minutes from the trail, you'll hit the Emerald Isle Bridge. Now, this is a barrier island right off the coast, and it's called Bogue Banks. And each little beach has a different name and whatnot. But over there, the labyrinth is there. I can go walk the labyrinth. Of course, the beach is beautiful. I've done many rituals on the beach. I've never lived far from a beach. I lived here and I've lived on an island. So I've always been very close to the water. Then also, if you leave my house and you head sort of north or northeast a little bit, I could walk and I'll be in the middle of Croton National Forest. So I've got the best of both worlds on that aspect. I've got the beach and the ocean and her just fury and mighty, beautiful strength and power. And then I've got the the woodlands. Oh, it's so serene and peaceful and beautiful. And I've done many beautiful rituals out in the woods in the Croatan. So I'm very blessed in that way. We get lots of wild thistle and wild blueberry growing around. I'm sure there's plenty of other things, but wild thistle is the one thing I actively go and harvest when I need it. We get the white variety. We don't get the purpley pink ones. Of course, we often see deer. We have bear, though I've not seen one. Raccoon, possum, all your normal squirrels and birds and rabbits. We do have rattlesnakes, and we have copperheads and water moccasins. We have brown recluse and, of course, black widow. So we do have dangerous things about, but as long as they don't mess with you if you don't mess with them most of the time. And fortunately, there are lots of trails because of, again, hunting and fishing and just, so people can be in the Croatan forest because it is our state forest. And it's pretty cool. Down in Atlantic Beach, it's part of Bogue Banks over there. At the very tip, it's called Fort Macon. Apparently, it's the second most visited national park in our state. The building of it was completed in 1834, and there was the Battle of Fort Macon was fought in 1862. But it's just a really cool thing. There's little barracks types areas, rooms where people slept and stayed, and there's a galley where the food was and where they ate, and there are also little cells where they held prisoners, and there's cannons everywhere, and it's really cool. The energy there is amazing. That's about 45 minutes or so away from where I live, maybe 50-minute drive. And then if you head over to Newbern, you can see Tryon Palace, and it was this place where the representative of North Carolina when we were colonies lived, and all of the British diplomats or whatever, could come in and stay. And it's this big elaborate sort of English gardens, and just, it's a really cool place with really cool atmosphere as well. So not really, I mean, it would be awesome to be able to do ritual in either of those spots, especially at Fort Macon. The energy there is awesome. But let's get into the energy and the people, the atmosphere. It is not witch friendly around here. There are a shit ton of witches here, I'll tell you, because I worked at a witchy metaphysical shop, and one of my dearest friends owns a witchy shop in the next town over. So there are lots of witches, or people who are pagan, at least, in the area. But it's this weird... It's actually really beautiful in the way that it works out, because I live at the edge of the Bible Belt, and you can't hardly walk down the street without tripping over a church or a Dollar General. There is this sort of rednecky vibe, the hunting and the mud bogging, and there's a lot of hate. There's a lot of, racism and bigotry toward people of other faiths and ethnicities, and also sexuality, sexual preferences, sexual identities. There's enough of that going on as well, but it's in these little pockets because we live right here at the beach. And I've been told many times while working on the beach at that metaphysical shop that our beach is special because, for instance, people come from Virginia Beach and Myrtle Beach to our beach because our beach is very quiet, and it's not, there's one fast food place over there. There are some restaurants, but we just got that fast food restaurant, well, it's probably been 8 years now, but before that, you had to leave the island to get fast food. Or wait, there's two. There's one in Atlantic Beach and one in Emerald Isle. But there's restaurants, there's little beachy shops and stuff, but it's not a tour. It's a very sort of calm, retirement, family-oriented type environment. It's not crazy like a lot of other beaches are, I guess. It's a very sort of chill beach. And There are, $1 million beach houses, of course. Celebrities live there, but a lot of people come in and out of this area because of the beach. So lots of different kinds of people from all over the world come in and out because of this beach. But also, we have 3 Marine Corps bases. I'm surrounded on all sides. There's one out here, and one over here. The one over here is tiny. It's called Bogue. The one out here is Camp Lejeune. And if you're not from here and you've never been stationed at Camp Lejeune, you might call it Lejeune. Nobody who has ever been to Camp Lejeune calls it that. We call it Camp Lejeune. I was born at Camp Lejeune. I'm a military brat. It used to be, at least, I think the 2nd largest Marine Corps base in the world. A lot of people come and go through there and bring a lot of people from all over the world. For instance, I am thankfully able to go get all kinds of Japanese foods and snacks and drinks because there are several Asian markets up in Jacksonville because of the military population and the fact that they go all over and they bring people back. And then you have Cherry Point, which is another base that Marines get stationed at. It's a decent size. It's not nearly as big as Lejeune, or as nice and new as Lejeune. But because you have these 3 military bases, a lot of people come and go out of the area. So the energy here is you get these little pockets of these really down home people. In the 70s, the area was rife with KKK, and probably all before that too. I've heard really scary, horrifying stories about the area I live in by people who've lived here for generations. But again, fortunately, there are all these little pockets of really open-minded people from all over the world, and it's this weird thing. I know specific places I can go that I'm like, there are certain restaurants I won't go in because it's just so. If you're not white and Christian, you're not welcome, and it's just really the energy. It's just as soon as you walk in. Those are few and far between, but they're there. And there are, again, there are pockets where you just know that, okay, this is an area that is not friendly to me or the other, whatever the other is. Around here, we get all these little yellow thank you, Jesus signs in people's yard. It's not as much, the further you go inland, the worse it gets. The closer you are here to the beach, it's, again, this weird energy that we have here at this nexus. But the further you go in, they're all over the place. I got so angry the last time we went out of town because somebody had gone onto state land and nailed, stapled, whatever, all these thank you, Jesus, yellow signs all over the trees, just out on, state land. And I'm just like, why did you do this? The trees did nothing. You want to put it in your yard? Fine, put it in your yard. I mean, there were dozens and dozens of them. Also around here, people love to put crosses in their yard. Some will have the little yard cross. You'll see that quite a bit. Again, more so the more you go inland from where I am. Some people put these giant ones that you would expect to see outside of a church. People put these in their yards. Again, this is more prevalent the further you go inland. One other example of what it's like to be a witch in the area that I live in. Again, I worked at that metaphysical witchy shop. It is on the beach. That's why it has survived. And my other friend, hers is in Jacksonville. And I think that's why hers has survived, because that is where the Marine Corps base is. And again, it's a bit more open-minded. I mean, if you hit, it'll be just like here. You'll hit pockets where it's like, ooh, but there's still that sort of fluid, open-minded energy and attitude out there. But just off the beach, you drive up the road, the highway that comes from the beach. It's Highway 24. You drive up Highway 24 for 7 minutes at most 7 minutes. And there was this little shop that someone I knew who was a practicing witch ran her boutique out of. It was a hairdresser, and she called it Enchanted. She painted it purple, and she painted a goddess on the outside. Now, she didn't do witchy things, and I mean, she carried like stone jewelry and stuff in there, but I mean, it was a hairdresser. That's what it was. She did hairdressing. She did people's hair and their nails. A woman came into her shop out of the blue with a Christian dictionary. I didn't even know there was such a thing. A Christian dictionary. Set it down on the counter and read to her the meaning of the word enchanted according to her Christian dictionary, and told her that she needed to change the name because she was inviting Satan in, basically. I don't even know what to say. Like, this is where I live. This is where I live. So if you take that element out of it, if you take this religious judgment out of where I live, it is a beautiful, wonderful place to be. So magical. Like I said, I have done so many rituals on the beach and so many rituals in the Croatan Forest, and they are always so beautiful and moving. And I really love where I live, except I wish it was more progressive. I wish it was a little bit more liberal and progressive. There are plenty of, when working at Compass Rose, I developed some really great relationships with witches and people who weren't witches, just on an alternate spiritual path, if you will. And just a beautiful community of people, open-minded, loving, giving people here. So if there was just more of that, I would love it more. Anyway, that's what it's like to witch where I am. If you haven't done this tag, I guess, if you haven't responded, and you have a channel, I wish you would, because I would love to know what it's like to witch where you are if you're somewhere else. And yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, much love and gratitude.